Welcome to STARS Launch Pod, where we chat with innovators who are overcoming challenges, pushing boundaries, and collaborating to make space more accessible and sustainable for humanity, one launch at a time.
It's one small step for man.
Here's your host, Susan Wise.
Welcome to STARS Launch Pod, Space Technology and Research Sciences, brought to you by starsciences.org, where we connect, collaborate, and accelerate. I'm your host, Susan Wise, and joining us on the podcast today is Paul Westerhoff, Regents Professor and Fulton Chair of Environmental Engineering at Arizona State University. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Great. Thanks, Susan. Nice to be here.
We want to know a little more about you and what you're doing to further the space industry.
Sure. So I'm an environmental engineer and I love water, right? And I grew up on the East Coast and there was lots of water. I moved to Colorado. There was less water. I live in Arizona now and it's even less water. And here in Arizona, what I realized is that we have rivers that bring us water and we evaporate all of our water. And I haven't done a lot of stuff with NASA historically, but I do a lot on water with lots of other federal agencies like the National Science Foundation. And so there was an opportunity through the National Science Foundation to work with CASIS to plan an interesting experiment for the International Space Station. So I saw that as a really cool challenge. How is something that we're doing on water here in Arizona relevant on the space station? So I took it as a science challenge more than a pure technology challenge. And hopefully we can go into it here today.
I'd love to hear more about that. So tell us, what did that entail as far as water on the International Space Station? I mean, I know it's highly valued and hard to get and hard to keep.
Yeah, I mean, so the natural thing is to think about astronauts who have to drink water and go to the bathroom, and then like, how do you shower, right? But their water's used in about 21 different parts of the International Space Station. So not just water and sanitation and food, but it's also used in radiation shielding. It's used as like thermal insulation. So like you can't bring up a radiator fluids because it's toxic, right? So water has really interesting properties, from thermal properties to radiation protection. And so there's water everywhere, liquid water. But you're also kind of like inside this giant submarine, or this, it gets really humid because like when you it's humid, right? You can't open the window and get fresh air. So they condensate that water and they collect the liquid water and use it again. So water's going around many, many times. And anything that's wet or damp, it grows something called a biofilm. I think the easiest is just like what's on your teeth. You brush your teeth and there you go, right? It's that slimy thing, that's biofilm. Well, biofilms grow on every surface that has moisture or wetness, and it leads to real problems on the space station. That became kind of our key problem we wanted to understand from both a biology and a technology point of view. So the biology point of view is, how do biofilms grow in space? Because we had a really cool way to control them.
Okay.
And so we reached out to some people who had worked on biofilms in space here at Arizona State University and Texas State University. And they'd been studying chemicals. If I add chlorine to the water, what happens? If I add silver, if I add iodine, kind of like when you go camping, or add chromium. So you could add all these, or hydrogen peroxide, you can add all these chemicals to water. Then you have to bring the chemicals with you. And you have to live with like all the consequences of those chemicals. So I said, maybe here's an opportunity, because we have a chemical-free technology that controls biofilms, and it does it with UV light. So, UV light can break bonds in DNA of bacteria and microorganisms. So it works really well. It's used on Earth, especially since COVID. You go to the airport and it said, your handrail going up the escalator is disinfected by UV light, right? So UV light is...
It's like, really?
And UV,
Are you sure?
Well, and UV light is in like dispensing machines of soda. So it works really good on flowing water.
Okay.
But biofilms grow on surfaces inside pipes and different things. So we've been working on a technology that uses optical fibers, kind of like your little um, wires coming out of your headphones there.
Uh,
Thin, flexible,
right.
even thinner than that. It's like thinner than your hair, these flexible fibers. And they're like glow sticks. They side emit UVC germicidal light. So you have a little light source at one end, kind of like where you plug in your wires, but they glow like a glow stick. And everything that is in that glow zone gets disinfected. So we can put these inside of little tubings. We can put them inside of storage tanks. So we really wanted to understand then, how do biofilms that we know grow differently in space than on Earth, how do they respond to UV light? And is it different in space or Earth?
That's
Yeah,
fascinating. And I can relate because our house we have a well. So our water comes directly from our well. And at first, the water flow through our pipes was just, very easy. But as time goes by, I guess those biofilms build up in there. And we're on a septic, so you can't like put bleach in there and do
exactly.
that because then you mess up that whole
Yeah,
ecosystem. So this is fascinating to
yeah,
me. I
yeah.
think that
It's that,
this is something.
it's that snotty stuff, right? Or like when you
Yes.
clean your sink and it's like slippery, but after you clean it, it's not
Or your
slippery.
dog
Or your
bowl. The
dog
dog
bowl,
bowl always gets
right?
it.
And so
Right.
we're really interested in how to deliver light to these surfaces.
Uh-huh.
Because inside your sink and different things, you can't, it's like a
Hmm.
flashlight. If you shined it through, light goes in a straight line, right? So, but with our fibers, we can bend these fibers all over, and anywhere where you want to control biofilms are there. Yeah. So
Was this your aha moment?
it was kind of our aha moment of sorts. It was, aha, here's a science question that has
Hmm.
relevance for the space station, but also here on Earth. On Earth, biofilms and
Yes.
the damage that they occur is about $4 trillion of economic damage a year. So the biggest things for biofilms from a dollar point of view, like every day we notice it in our teeth, or if you slip in a
Hmm.
shower, right? I mean, those are most noticeable. But biofilms grow on metal surfaces and corrode. It's called biocorrosion. So essentially, the bacteria are eating away the space station, right? And so, if we can control the biofilms, it won't disappear. But biofilms grow on the hull of ocean going boats. It increases the energy, the gas, and diesel they use by 10%. So, all those
Wow.
barnacles and stuff, they attach on a biofilm.
What about like medical
Yeah.
medical facilities and tubing
Yeah.
and
So,
stuff like
like,
that?
I don't know if you've been to the hospital, but a lot of people go to the hospital and they get what are called catheters, kind of like tubes put in there
Mm,
into their
hmm.
for urine drainage and other things.
Right.
So, just these urinary catheters, over 13,000 people a year die in the United States because of biofilms associated with these catheter and infections. So, bacteria grow in these biofilms and lead to infections that then get into your blood and kill people. So, I mean,
So,
the other noticeable like biofilm is mold that grows on
mhm,
surfaces. People after natural disasters, or you have a leak in your house, you have to like
mhm.
scrape it all off, but then you have to put down really toxic paint so you don't get mold growth. So UV light can
Mhm.
also control mold and the biofilms associated with mold. So UV light is powerful. The challenge has been how to deliver it to these surfaces where biofilms grow.
So, what has been your biggest challenge?
So I think our biggest challenge now, if we go to this specific project on the International Space Station, I'd never done
Mhm.
anything on the space station. And it's like not as easy as walking down the hall in our university to my lab and telling a student, oh, let's change this, let's do it again. Right. You kind of get one
Yeah.
shot at this. So in August and September of this year, we had two launches bring up one kind of the biology part. So we bring up the bugs that are going to grow and in biofilms. We
Mhm.
worked with a company called Bioserve, who does lots of experiments on the space station. But we built little cassettes that we could grow bacteria in, put our fiber in, and then in September we launched up the hardware, the light engines that are going to drive this. And so we hope everything gets put together right. But like I get one chance, like literally
One
one
shot at
shot.
it.
And so the astronauts are going to start the experiments here in December. It'll be about 30 days of experiments, and we'll know some things and then we get it back. So the biggest challenge for me, for sure, is trying to do this without knowing, like, what is a deployment partner? So I had really good partners, Cheryl and Bob, who have done this before, really good students. And then the cases team who kind of walks us through it. But our deployment partner who built the hardware that gets it certified, that puts it in shakers and vacuums and stuff, BioServe, have been fabulous. So to me, the challenge hasn't been the science. The challenge has been execution of the science. Was like the first time I was like a rookie at this. And so
Mhm.
having good partners, good teammates was really the key.
Yes. Having good support, absolutely. Because if this is really successful, just think of how it could change everything and how much money, billions, it could save us. Paul, what one piece of advice would you like to share with our listeners?
So I think there's a tremendous opportunity to do really cool science in space. But I think understanding how it relates to challenges, science challenges, technology challenges back on Earth is equally as valuable. I'll say that in addition to this science, this NSF, funding, we've also had a startup company that started about 5 years ago with NASA funding to develop this fiber, this side emitting UV fiber that went into these experiments. And we go out with this company and try to tell people about it. Having the NASA relationship is like really cool. And it like definitely helps bring up our ability. So I guess what I'd say to other people who are thinking about, why should I work on one little customer, one little thing called NASA and this thing that I have 5 people floating up in a box or 10 people in space? Like, why is that relevant? So it brings credibility, brings really focused, really unique challenges. The whole process of going up there makes you think about a lot of things that I think have relevance on scaling up technology back here on Earth. So I'm really glad I spent over 100 hours writing this proposal, and fortunately NSF decided to fund it.
I'm really excited. I can't wait to hear the results. And before we wrap up, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us, do you have a passion project, past or present, that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I think when you start thinking about the space station and people living on the space station, they can't open a window. Think about every time you open the car door and you said, oh, it's a nice day, or oh, I'm going to go outside for a walk, or wow, it's a nice time of year. I'm going to open the window and get some fresh air, right? You can't do that on the space station. So everything they bring up, they exhaust in their air and it gets recycled over and over. So we think a lot about this here in Arizona, where it's not humid. Inside the space station is really humid. Arizona is really dry. So we want water. And in fact, we import lots of liquid water into Arizona. It all evaporates. So what my passion project of a sort is understanding how to get that water vapor back out of the air, kind of recondense it into water that we could use again and again, a new type of recycling. So instead of recycling gray water in your home or wastewater in a city, I really am thinking about how do we recycle liquid water to water vapor back to liquid. And it reminds me of growing up in New Jersey, where my job in the basement was emptying a dehumidifier every day. And relevant to here, it's not just the water, but inside that thing, on all those coils in the container, biofilms grew.
Yep.
And so biofilm
Slime.
right? And my iBurst can
Yes.
solve that slimy problem. So all these things connect back together. But I'm really interested in all these water cycles, whether they're natural or engineered water cycles, and how we can utilize kind of these water cycles in new ways to think about, instead of removing chemicals from water and reusing the water, how can we let nature evaporate water and then we can just collect the clean, purified water out of the air? So so that's my
Love what
passion
you're doing.
project right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
All right. I'm pulling for you, because if you can utilize it in space, we can utilize it right here on Earth as
Yeah,
well.
for sure.
All right, Paul, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And we definitely want to hear an update after the first of the year, how everything goes in December. Fingers crossed.
Great. Thanks, Susan. This
All
has
right.
been really good, and enjoy your show.
Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to join us where we connect, collaborate, and accelerate. We'd like to invite you to join starsciences.org to receive a free 1-year membership. Just put in the promo code FRIENDS321. And if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review and subscribe. And until next time, keep looking up.
Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. Watch us on YouTube and follow us on social media. Stars Launch Pod, propelling us forward, one launch at a time.